If we talk about Alchemy of Souls, we have to talk about the love story that this great drama has. Mostly when we talk about the series, we refer to the themes of soul shift, ice stone, spells or powers and so on, but we can't deny that the love story between Mu-Deok and Jang Uk has been very nice. Most dramas, even if they are action or fantasy, almost always include a love story that leaves fans sighing, and in this case we can say the same thing about Jang Uk and Mu-Deok. But in this story particularly, there is one event that is a bit tricky when it comes to talking about love, because we know that Naksu is in Mu-Deok's body. Now, who is Jang Uk really in love with, Naksu or Mu-Deok? If Naksu changes her body, how will this love story continue? That's why in this video we are going to talk, who is Jang Uk's true love? But first remember to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell to be among the first to see our content. We know that the series started when Naksu tried to shift her soul and suddenly realized that she was in Mu-Deok's body. Although this was something she didn't want, she had to go ahead so that she could create a plan and be able to change her body again. In that process where Naksu is looking to change to a better body, she meets Jang Uk and has the wonderful idea that he can help her. Of course, he was the first one to recognize that Mu-Deok is actually Naksu, and it was thanks to her blue eyes. We also have to mention that Jang Uk was the one who told Mu-Deok to be her teacher, and well, she accepted, because if he got her energy she could help her get her powers. So with this we know that their relationship started just for convenience, and then apparently they started to fall in love. There are fans who believe that Jang Uk is in love with Mu-Deok and others believe that he is in love with Naksu, so we will explain both sides. Those who believe that he is in love with Mu-Deok believe that even though Naksu's soul is in the body, Jang Uk sees Mu-Deok's body every day and thus is attracted to her physique. We can start by remembering that in the beginning he mentioned that Mu-Deok had very beautiful eyes, but of course it was because they turned blue. It is believed that the blue eyes symbolize the energy of the stars or a symbolism of Buyon's soul. But to understand this we must think that Buyon or Mu-Deok, who is the same person, is living with Naksu in the same body, that is, there are two souls in the same body. There is a scene where Naksu defends herself from the eunuch Kim and she starts to see a blue energy or light, and he. At first Jang Uk was scared, but then regardless, he embraced her. After that something amazing happens. Mu-Deok touches the water and a kind of energy is released which is like the constellation of stars. We know that Jang Uk was born on the day of the king's star energy, and we know that Jangin chose a day for Buyon to be born, and many believe that it was the day of the king's star. So in a way it is thought that Buyon and Jang Uk were born on the same day, and so they are destined to be together. There is a very curious scene, and that is when Jang Uk was about to change his soul, and at that moment Mu-Deok intervenes and saves him, and smiles at him. When Jang Uk wakes up he told Mu-Deok that he saw her and she was there, however, she doesn't remember anything. This may show that Buyon is in love with Jang Uk. Another obvious point would be that by the simple fact that Jang Uk constantly saw Mu-Deok's body and saw her face, and since we know that they have already kissed each other, well in a way he feels some attraction to Mu-Deok's physical appearance. Now, there are other fans who say that he is really in love with Naksu. Let's start that from the beginning he saw that Mu-Deok had her blue eyes and that they were very pretty, but he implied that the eyes were pretty because they reflected that this soul could be his future master, not because of the aesthetic part. We later learned that Jang Uk knew of Naksu and knew that she was an assassin but was also a great magician, so when he confirms that Mu-Deok is Naksu he was excited to have her as a teacher. Although at first it all started as an interest from both of them, then with time they both became concerned about her well-being and then they fell in love. If we see Mu-Deok's attitude that Naksu really is, we see that she is challenging, daring, risk-taking, feisty, ambitious, and those characteristics are liked by Jang Uk. We also saw all the things that Jang Uk has done for Naksu that shows his great love. There was a scene where Jang Uk gives some of the jade to Mu-Deok and they make a promise of fidelity and talk about their future plans. And at that moment he was aware that he was talking to Naksu because they talked about the mission she had to change her body, and apparently, no matter what, he feels a sense of fidelity towards her. There is also another point that Buyon's soul is really dead and the body only lived because of the ice stone, and that even in Buyon's body actually dwells Soul Ran. So in that case, it is very difficult for Jang Uk to fall in love with Buyon because according to one theory she is dead or just another soul. But what is complicated is to think if he could be in love with both souls, Naksu and Buyon. Also here we could apply the philosophy of yin and yang and think that really Buyon's soul needs to be connected with Naksu's soul, so that both can function, and really Jang Uk is in love with two souls, Naksu and Buyon. But whether he is in love with Naksu or Buyon depends on your theory of who they are. But there is one important point: we know that Naksu wishes to change her body. But as we have seen in chapter 18, she has to decide between love or between her powers. Recall that when Naksu appeared to adult Buyon, she told her that she would gain something, but lose something else. So in Naksu's case, she could choose another body, but she could put Jang Uk's life and the lives of others at risk. Another important point: if she changes her body, she will obviously have another physique. How would this be for Jang Uk? Would he get used to seeing another body? The most we could think is that since Jang Uk already knew about Naksu, maybe he would have seen her at some point and he would also have liked her body, and so if Naksu returns to her body it would not be so strange for him. But also if Naksu decides to stay in Mu-Deok's body, as she would be sacrificing her life and it would be easier for Jang Uk, but very difficult for her. But in this case there could be a possibility that he is in love with the two souls. What's more interesting is that the second season of Alchemy of Souls is expected to be based on Naksu's story and not Mu-Deok's. So it's very likely that Naksu will return to her body. But that could be a big problem. If Naksu switches to her original body, will she continue with Jang Uk or would she go for So-Yeol? Well, that we will know when we get to see the second part of this great drama. For now, we are left to wait for the final episodes to find out how this love story ends. Do you think Jang Uk is in love with Naksu or Buyon? Leave your comment here. If you liked this video, please like and share it with your friends.